There we go. And if I do it over here, look at that. That is cool. Hello everyone. So today I'm actually very excited about this kind of thing that I thought of. I want to ask you a question, right? Have you ever looked at a game and just felt like, yeah, this game is different? Like there's just something about this that is unique. Like something about the game just kind of hooked you immediately, you know? Because I've had many moments like that. I've had moments like that with games. I've had moments like that with some show. I've had moments like that with a movie. I would say specifically Spider-Verse, if you remember that. Specifically for me, the animation style. The story in Spider-Verse is actually very simple, but the style of animation just got me very hooked into the film and made me feel like, yeah, this is different. Or for example, The Incredibles. It's an old film, I bought it on YouTube, but I watched it, I'm like, I don't know, it began with this very cool, mature feel, which even movies today seem to kind of avoid, or if they do it in a very poor way. And like I said, games also have this. Now, I believe this is caused due to something being just unique enough, right? A game must have some element to it, which makes you look at it and go like, damn, I actually haven't really seen this in any other game. Or if I have, it was a very rare one-time thing. I'm sure we all have our examples, but me personally, I loved Subnautica for this exact reason, because the moment I began Subnautica, it felt like I was actually there on the planet surviving. There were no quest marks, there was no dialogue, it was just me on this planet, and I could fully imagine being in that situation, and I've never experienced that in any game before. Now, I'll admit, this was 6 years ago, I was 12 years old, right? So I haven't actually experienced many games up until that point, but this is why I love Subnautica to this day, right? It had something that, like I said, no other game really had, and that really captivated me. Now, where I'm getting with this is user interface. I mean, look, you've read the title, you saw the thumbnail, you know what the topic of the video is going to be, but user interface is something that practically every single game has, and I'm not even practically, every single game has user interface, assuming it's been developed for longer than 1 hour. To those with single-digit IQs, which, hello, welcome to the channel, user interface is effectively the 2D objects, like buttons, menus, inventories, stuff like that. That is 2D interface. It's where you can move your camera around and the 3D world moves, but not this 2D object, right? That's what user interface effectively is. And you caught what I just said there, a 2D object, because that's what it is, right? I mean, again, it's a button, right? It's not 3D. It's possible to make some sort of 3D element towards you might have some box, and then that box has some button, and it's 3D and you can press on that button. But what if you still want normal user interface, which is 3D, which can also be interacted with as if it is 3D? This plagued my mind for a little bit, and I actually hopped in earlier just to kind of test a couple things, and now I believe I'm ready to fully show you what I have found, and I think you'll quite like it. Even if you aren't the developer, I'm both a developer and a player, and I found what I made cool as both player and developer, right? So again, doesn't matter who you are, I think you'll like what I'm about to show you. Now, for starters, let's make some sort of UI that we kind of want to mimic in a 3D style. So what I'm thinking is, I know I've just created a button here, but that's actually not what I want to make. I don't want to make a button. Instead, I'm thinking, I want to make a title for a shop. So imagine that, there's a shop button, and you click the shop button, and this big menu opens up, and on the top, there's this thing, there's this box that says shop. I see these in games pretty frequently, and I don't know why. Honestly, I have no clue why, but I quite like it when they do this. I don't know, it makes it feel very cool and very important. Oh yeah, this is the shop, as opposed to just opening up some, some random box, which doesn't actually mean anything. So yeah, I mean, there we go, button, and of course I gotta rename the text to shop. There we go. But yeah, look at that, and I can just make it a bit smaller, and yeah, I mean, that looks pretty cool. Now, in a regular game, I would just take something like this, and then I would just, add a shop below it, and there we go. There's my shop. There's my user interface. But if you play a Roblox game that has this, you're probably not gonna care too much. You might appreciate the fact that, oh yeah, it has this cool little thing, right? Maybe you haven't actually played games that have a shop that looks like this, and you might take notice. But it's not going to be a big thing. It's not going to be something that makes you kind of feel like, oh, interesting, the developer actually added this in as a neat little detail. This actually makes it stand out from other games that I've played, and because of that, I want to keep playing more. Because again, this is what this is all about, right? Again, as players, it's cool to see these cool little gimmicks, but as developers, it's the fact that you can add these little gimmicks to no real expense of your own, right? Okay, you might have to spend 10 minutes kind of understanding how it works, But after that, you could just add this to your game very quickly, and the results would be something that many players have actually never seen before, right? This is how you make your game stand out, right? I'm tired of seeing so many Roblox games. Like, I'm sidetracking a little bit, but I keep getting people who like send their Roblox games to my Discord server, and bro, I look at them, and honestly, like, they're very generic. Like, no offense to them, I'm sure they're working on them, and it's a passion project, and that's great. Like, I never tell them that, but I do see it, and I kind of go like, yeah, like, I don't really see much, like, not effort, but I don't see much creativity put into this game, which is unfortunate because I'm sure that they really want the game to succeed. Now, with this button that we have just created, let's actually make a, like I said, a 3D version of the button, right? And I'm going to show you how we can actually turn that 3D version into user interface in just a moment. But yeah, first we just have to actually mimic the style of the button. Yeah, and let's see, this part is facing forward in this direction, so I'm just going to make it go like this. Yeah, I mean, if you're following along, you know, just make whatever button you want. If you're not following along, I guess you could just watch me struggle to make a button for a couple minutes. Because yeah, again, I gotta also like get the camera angles correct. So this is yeah, a bit annoying, but I mean, if I just shave this off and I shave that off, let's see. Yeah, honestly, there we go. The shape is actually pretty similar. I'll just set this part to be white because look at it. Look at that. It almost fully matches the outline color of the button. Like, look at that. It looks like it's like part of it. That's so cool. All right, next we actually need to make this an outline, and there's actually many different ways of doing this. And like, I assume some of you might think to do something like, oh yeah, just, you know, make this part and make it like, you know, extruded like this, and then you could have something like this. But the thing is, like, I don't want like this to extrude forward. I want it to extrude in the other direction. I know you're probably like sitting here thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? But here, let me just show you, right? What if instead of doing it like this, which just looks kind of weird and unnatural, what if we here, let me just position the button again real quick. There we go. Okay, I think I got the width of the outline correct. All right, whatever. Yeah, what you could do, just a little fun fact in case you didn't know, you can actually use both parts to like remove a section of one part, right? So for example, I could take this part, I can make it a negate part, which Roblox calls a negative part, right? And then I could select both of these, click union, and there we go. Look at that. So we're left with something that looks like this. And it has these black borders because like the part that we negated was of this color, which it's up to you. Honestly, I prefer the white one, so I'm just gonna undo that real quick, and I'm just gonna set the part to also be white, like so. And what I'll do is I'll take this part, which is like the big one, I'm gonna copy it, so you'll see why in a bit. And I'll do the same thing again, negate, union, there we go. Like, I don't want to make this too boring, right? Because I get you want to see the cool stuff. But this is how the stuff is made, again, right? And even if you're a player, I just want to show you that, like, this isn't difficult to make and learn. So what I'm going to do with the part that I, you know, just copied is I'm going to paste it again. I'm going to position it to be right over here. And I'm going to try and scale it in such a way that, let's see, there we go. It just barely grazes the outline. And then I'm going to make it go a bit on the inside, like so. There we go. And I'll just take the color and I'll just use the color picker and I'll do this butt that we just made. There we go. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Now we need actual letters, and let's thank, I looked this up, shop button. Let's thank this guy, PA_Z. He made this amazing shop mesh, which is very humongous. So I have no clue why it's this big, but we are able to make it very small. So that's good. Yeah, again, it's massive. I have no clue why he made it the way he did, but whatever. So yeah, I'm going to rotate this around, and then yeah, let's see how well does this fit in with the outline. Honestly, like that's pretty cool. I'm gonna set the color to be fully white as well, but yeah, look at that. There we go. I probably will just make it a bit smaller though, just to kind of match what we have going on with the button that we made. But look at that. Yeah, there we go. Obviously some minor differences here and there, but this is pretty cool. And I'm gonna also place this into the model. And so I'm gonna call this text. I'm gonna call this outline, and this can just remain parts. And so I'm just gonna call this button like so. And I'm gonna set the primary part to be this part over here. And yeah, perfect, right? So we have basically just made our own 3D version of this button. And it's very cool too, because again, I can like move it around like so, and I can like, you know, rotate it. It looks cool. It's like kind of affected by light and everything. And we can actually, again, rotate it, right? Like, look at that. That's pretty cool. But you might be asking, okay, that's interesting, but now what? How do we actually transform it into user interface? And what can we do with it from there. So I'm going to delete the button. It has served us very well, but we have no use for it right now. I'm going to show you this thing called the viewport frame. Now, I'm certain fans of the channel, you've already seen this thing pop up a lot of times, but I've been using it mainly for like optical illusions or whatever. Like I have a bunch of videos on my channel where I kind of use this for like pretty cool stuff, but here it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to change the size of this. I'll just say 0.1 because then it's going to scale it relative to my screen size. And if you have no clue what that is, don't worry. Know that it's just important and good to do. Or I can show you this right now. Whenever like the screen size changes, the UI scales along with it, because before it wouldn't do that. It would just stay the same size, but here it actually adjusts to remain with like the same, you know, percentage of the screen. And yeah, and the cool part about viewport frames is that I can take this button, I can place it inside of the viewport frame. I can also then place a camera inside the viewport frame. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set their positions. Oh yeah, see, look at that. You can already see some of it. I'm going to set the position and orientation of both the button and the camera to be 0. I'm also going to set the viewport frame's current camera equal to this camera. And from here, now that they're both at the same position, the camera should be inside of the button, quote unquote. So I just have to slightly change the position until we actually get to see the button. And oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, so look, I changed the Z and there we go. Shop, 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 shop. Yeah, look at that. that's pretty much perfect. And then we can take the button and we can even slightly change the orientation of it as well. So yeah, look at that. Yeah, I changed this to like a -6 and now it's a bit more like tilted upwards a little bit again, right? Like, but look at that. That's pretty cool. And then I can take this viewport frame and I can remove the background like so. And yeah, there we go. Look at that. We got this nice looking 3D button. And there's many different ways I can kind of impact it from here. For example, viewport frames have their own lighting, right? So for example, just as how this shop is kind of blue, I could kind of replicate that effect as well, right? I can make it a bit more of a like a bluish, nicer color. And there we go. Look at that. This literally looks like the same exact button right now. And I'm going to delete this button because we don't need it anymore. And look at that. We have our user interface button that is 3D. But what now? What can we do with this that makes it stand out? How can we make it so that whenever a player joins the game, you know, he's going to see this and go like, damn, like that's actually very cool. Because I'll be honest, bro, if I enter a game and I see this, look, this actually looks pretty cool. I'll admit, like I like the fact that it's not like a basic square anymore, but that's basically it. Like from a distance, it doesn't even look 3D. It just looks like a 2D button that just has like a custom image or something, right? So let's fully utilize the fact that we're working with, I keep repeating this, but a 3D model. How do we do that? Well, in case you don't know, there is this thing called tweening. Let me actually show you something cool right now. If I just playtest the game, I can actually run code in this little command bar. And what if I wanted to play an animation where this spawn location rotates around like so? Well, what I could do is I could say game. So this is just everything, right? Then I get tween service. This is how Roblox handles animations. I can create an animation and then it needs certain parameters that I need to put inside of this create function. So it needs the object that we're going to be animating, which is going to be the spawn location, which is inside the workspace. And then it needs tween info, which is, it's like the settings of the animation. So the time, like how long the animation will play for, let's say 10 seconds. And we can leave everything else empty. Like we don't need to worry about other stuff. Then we need a table, which is going to be the property that we want to change. So a table, then the name of the property, which is going to be, I'm going to say rotation, like so. And I'm going to set rotation equal to vector3.new, and then we can say like 360, 0, 0. I have no clue if it's going to rotate in the right axis or not, but then we can play this tween, and there we go. Look at that. Yeah, it's not rotating in the right direction. I think it should be over here, maybe. If I just play it again, let's see. I guess that's not the right one either. I guess it was this one all along. Okay, yeah, now it's playing correctly. So we got both playing at the same time. There we go. That looks pretty nice. But what if we then use this tween service to rotate this? What if we have a button that can be rotated exactly like a 3D object, because it is a 3D object? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a local script inside of this button, and I'll make a variable for it. Button is equal to script.parent. And I'm also going to make variables for these 3 items. So I'm going to say local outline is going to be equal to button wait for child outline, and then the same thing for the other 3. So local parts will be the parts and local text will be the text. And the reason I'm using wait for child, by the way, is because on a local script, if you actually remember when I first played the game, like see, it takes like a little bit to load in, right? So we need to ensure that everything has loaded in, and so that's why we're waiting. Because if we don't wait, it might not exist yet, and it's going to call an error. Now, from here, I'm thinking, because we actually have a lot of choices here, specifically with how we want the button to be triggered, and then what we want it to do after it has been triggered. And by triggered, I mean like when something happens, then we want to play some animation for the button. So here's what I'm thinking. We can detect whenever a mouse enters this viewport frame. So I'm actually going to make a variable for it. I'm going to say local view is going to be button.parent. So again, button.parent. And we can say view.mouse enter connect function. And this also gives us the X and the Y coordinate of the mouse, which I will take. Now, just for fun, let's actually just print the X and the Y coordinates. Let's just see how this stuff works. So if my mouse moves over here, look at that, these are the coordinates. So this is the X as in the horizontal, and this is the Y as in vertical. So when I enter, it's like, yeah, 217, 215, 215, all of that. What if I do it from the bottom? 364, 363, 364. Okay, so it's a fairly big difference, right? So here I'm curious, whenever the mouse enters, what if we just make a tween to make each of these parts rotate around 360 degrees? Now, it would be a smart thing to just loop through the button and then like take all of these parts and then make an animation for them within the loop. But because I've already made variables for them, I'm just going to make 3 individual tweens for them, which just means that I'm going to say game.tweenService create, and I'm going to do one for the outline, one for the part, and one for the text. Now, if you actually remember, it's tilted a bit upwards, right? And I did this by changing its X orientation. So a negative X makes it rotate upwards, but a positive X makes it rotate downwards. Interesting. So here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it the outline. Then it needs a tween info. And I'm thinking I can just make this into a variable because I want the tween info to be the same for all 3. And so instead of typing the same tween info out multiple times, I just make a variable over here. So local ti is going to be equal to tween info dot new. I don't know what time. I guess we could do like 0.8 seconds. Easing style. Easing style is basically the rate at which it moves. So we can move at a constant speed, or it can like change speeds as it goes on. So maybe like it starts slow, but then like speeds up as it approaches the goal. The one I like personally is back, where it like overshoots, which makes it for this like cool bouncy feel. So I'm just gonna use that. And then we have stuff like easing direction, repeat count, reverses, but we don't need any of that, so we can again leave that blank. And then we need the property table. So I'll say prop table is going to be equal to, and we're going to change the rotation again. And rotations are vector 3s, just like I did with the spawn location. And again, we're trying to change the X here, right? So what I'll do is I'll say 360, 0, 0. But the thing is, if it goes to 360, the problem is that it's going to lose this like little tilt that it has upwards, because then it's just going to go back to being 0. So I'm going to say vector3.new 360, 0, 0 plus the current rotation of the outline. So I'll say plus outline. Now, I don't just want this to animate to 360 because then it's going to overwrite this like little change that we made here. Because again, it's tilting upwards right now because we slightly changed the rotation. But if I tween it to make it go to 360, it's just going to loop back around and become 0, right? But I don't want it to do that. I want it to add 360 on top of what we already have and not to just make it 360 and ignore what we have. For this, I will have to add the rotation of the current part that's being animated. And the more I think about it, I feel like it actually would be a lot better to just loop through the button. Like, even though I made these variables, honestly, we should just loop because I feel like it would just be a lot more efficient. Now, if you're afraid of that word, don't worry. What it's going to look like is it's just going to be for iv in button get children do. So we're going to loop through everything inside of the button. I'm going to say if v is a local script, so if this is a local script, then continue. So we're just not going to do anything. We're going to move on to the next loop because we don't want to change anything about the local script, but we want to change these other parts. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to copy this prop table over here, and I'm going to say game.tweenService create. So for every part we're looping through, we're going to create an animation for each, again, individual part. And v is the value that we're looping through. So we're going to loop through the local script first, but then the code is going to check, oh, is this a local script? And it is a local script, so it's going to say, okay, move on to the next loop. So we're going to move on to the outline. Is the outline a local script? Well, no, it's not. So we're going to run this code, then we're going to move on to this, we're going to run this code, and we're going to move on to this, we're going to run this code. So basically, I'm just writing this code once, but it's going to be ran for every single item that's not a local script that is inside of this button. So I hope that makes sense, right? So instance is going to be this value, again, one of these 3. Then tween info will be this, ti that we made. And property table, I'm going to just insert it over here. It's going to be 360, but it's going to be 360 plus v dot rotation that we already have, right? And we can actually say over here that v is supposed to be a part. And so I just wonder, is a rotation a number or okay, it's a vector 3. Okay, very nice. Yeah, just in case, because I don't know why, but I remember someone saying that rotation was like a number, which messed me up a few times when I first like started out. And I just built up this little habit that like I keep mistaking rotation sometimes for like being a number when it's not. And yeah, and so we take that and we actually play this tween. And I think this is all we have to do to actually make it animate. Let's just check it out. Let's see. If I hover my mouse over this, what's going to happen? Look at that. Look at that. It spins. That is so cool. And another cool thing is that, look, it actually ends up being right back at the initial little tilt that we gave it, right? That is cool. Now, there are some small issues. Like, for example, we don't actually have a cooldown for this. So if I just keep doing this, it might cause some errors like like this. And also, it's not that interactable. So for example, like when, if my mouse goes over here, it makes sense for it to kind of go down, right? But if my mouse goes up, like it still rotates down. But what if I wanted it to rotate up when my mouse enters it from the bottom? So I'm actually going to add a cooldown just real quickly. And it's very simple. I'll just make a variable called lock, and I'm going to set it equal to false. And here I can just say if lock, so if lock is true, then return end. So we're just not going to do anything because it's locked, so we shouldn't do anything. Now, if lock isn't true, if it's still unlocked, then we're going to set lock to be true. So we're going to lock it, meaning that if the mouse tries entering again, lock will be true. So it's not going to be able to get through this. Then we're going to do our line of code. We're going to play all the animations. We're going to wait the time of the animation. So I'm going to say 0.8 seconds. So we're going to wait until the animation finishes playing. And then we're going to say lock is equal to false. And if I do this way, it should actually... Yeah, look at that. See? So it actually respects the cooldown. That's pretty cool. Now, I showed you these coordinates for a reason, right? This is because we can detect from which direction the mouse is actually coming from. So if you look over here, if the mouse is coming from the top, right? It prints like 216, it was like 221, stuff like that. But then on the bottom, 360, 350, stuff like that. So seemingly when the mouse is more on the bottom, the number is higher. But when it's on the top, the number is lower. So just for fun, what if we say if y, so again, the y is this second number, and let's say if y is less than or equal to 300, because as it is right now, when it seems that when it's less than 300, it's coming from the top side, right? So if y is less than or equal to 300, then make it rotate downwards, like so. Now the thing is, it already rotates downwards, right? If we wanted to rotate upwards, we just have to set this to be a negative, right? So negative 360. And if we do it like this, then it's going to rotate the other direction. Yeah, look at that, see? So now it rotates upwards. And the way we can actually, I think, handle this is, again, by default, it's already rotating upwards, right? So what if we make it rotate upwards by default? So I can say local num rotate, and I'll set that equal to negative 360, right? So by default, it's going to rotate by negative 360. So I'll just replace this with num. By default, it's going to be negative 360, or sorry, wait, not num rotate. But if it's not supposed to rotate upwards, if it's supposed to rotate downwards, then I'll set num rotate equal to 360. So again, by default, it's going to rotate upwards. However, if the mouse enters from the top, then it's going to change this number, and then it's going to play the animation of it rotating downwards. And another thing is that I feel like it was rotating a bit too quickly. So I'll instead of 0.8, I'll say like 1.2 or something. And I'm actually just curious, could we just say like ti.time? Oh yeah, we can, look at that. Yeah, great. So now whenever I change the time of this, it's gonna apply here as well. So I'm not gonna have to change two numbers at the same time. So yeah, if I play the game right now, let's just see. Okay. There we go. And if I do it over here, look at that. That is cool. Yeah, and then, like over here and over here. And if I do it from the side, yeah, okay, from the side, there isn't really much going on. And again, this is something that you could script. Like you could maybe check if the mouse is over here or over here, and you could like apply your own cool little movements. But yeah, look at that. One goes over here, one goes over here. That's actually very cool. And I'm actually certain that you could do some math where like it goes exactly in the opposite like direction of where the mouse came from. Like maybe if the mouse comes like over here, it could rotate like over there. Or if the mouse comes over here, it could rotate over there. Like I'm sure you can actually get very, very like specific with this, right? But again, that would just require you to kind of think about like how to properly use the numbers and all of that. And I'm sure with enough time, I could figure it out. But again, I don't want this to be too long of a video. And another thing that I'm actually thinking of is, you see how like we have it over here, right? What if we just make it so that when the mouse leaves, we also want it to like move as well, right? Because right now it's like if the mouse stays and it leaves, it's kind of weird. Like it doesn't move for some reason. And we can actually do the same thing, right? So I can do view mouse enter, but except for mouse enter, I could say mouse leave. So mouse leave. Now I don't want the same lock. I want 2 locks instead. So I want lock 2, so I'll set this equal to false. So I'll say if lock or lock 2. So if either is true, then we're just not going to do anything. Same over here, if lock or lock 2. And here we're going to just change lock 2 equals true and lock 2 equals false. There we go. And in this case, I'm pretty sure we actually should reverse the numbers. So by default, it should be 360 and we should change it to negative if it's less than 300. Let me just check it real quick, right? So let's see if I just do it like this and then it goes up. Yep, look at that. That is so cool. There we go. And then if I do it like this and then I go down like so, that is very cool, honestly. And again, what's so perfect about this is that I could literally set this equal to be like any rotation by default, like even like something like this, right? Or like, I don't know. And this could still work. I mean, albeit this looks pretty bad, right? Like, I don't know, negative 60. Like, this is pretty bad. But it's still going to rotate a whole 60 degrees. Look at that. That is really cool. Again, rotation is up to you. Honestly, I'm thinking I might just set it equal to be like -2 maybe. Like not too much, right? Like I still want to showcase that this is a 3D object, but I don't want it to be like too 3D, right? Yeah, this is literally perfect. Yeah, so what we could do right now then is just take this viewport frame and we can actually make it part of a real like user interface shop. So again, even just for fun, right? I could take this frame like so, I could like position it to look something like this. I could put the viewport frame inside of this shop. And yeah, let's see, we just gotta size it up. Yeah, for some reason you just can't move things like that. If I try to move the shop, it just moves the frame, which is very stupid. Of course I get it, you know, Roblox is, you know, a small indie company that doesn't have enough funding to make, you know, their game engine work properly, but it's fine. And so yeah, I mean, we could just do something like that. I could give it like an outline like this, and I can make the outline the same color as this over here, and then make the background the same color, and look at that. Like this looks like a real user interface. And yeah, I can just like actually position it so that it like is fully in the center of the screen. And yeah, I've just added some buttons to make the shop look like an actual real shop. But again, like look at that. Isn't that cool? Now, because I changed the position of the button, we will actually have to change the numbers of the mouse. Because let's see, right now they enter at, how much is it? Yeah, like 75, 73. But then over here it's, yeah, like 200. Look at that. So instead of 300, this should be 150, I believe. Let's do that. 150, 150, and now it should work. Yeah, so it's a slight problem where, like, you know, you have to like account for the actual position of the button. And again, with math, I'm certain that you can, you know, fully fix that. But just look at that. Like, imagine you play a game and you just happen to just hover your mouse randomly and it just does that. Like, that is just cool. Like, come on, that's just, you know what I mean? Like, if you have a game, you could literally just add this in right now, and it's gonna look phenomenal. Seriously. I don't know why more games don't do this. Now, just to mess around with this a tiny bit more, what if we can actually do something when, like, the player clicks on this shop title? Because I keep calling it a button, but it's not really a button. Like, it's just a title, right? But what if we could actually do something when it's clicked on? So I can just say view dot input began connect function, which will give us the input. And here I can just say if input dot input type is enum dot user input type dot mouse button 1, then what if we just change the material of these? I was thinking of like maybe changing the color, but then I feel like that would just kind of look weird. But what if we just get like some random material and then we just set the outline and the shop text to be that random material? So we just say a local rand material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say random material is going to be enum dot material get enum item. So this will just return like a list of all the materials, and I can get the material from math.random number 1 to the maximum amount of items in this table. And we can get that by saying hashtag enum material get enum items. So in short, this is just going to return a random material, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say button wait for child outline, and then I'll say button wait for child text, and I'll just say material, and material will be equal to this random material that we have just made. Random material. So yeah, just for fun, let's just see how this plays out. Let me, if I click. Oh yeah, look at that. That is cool. And then I click again, and that is nice. That is really nice. Of course, when we like get to water or something, that's going to be somewhat of a problem, but that is cool. Look at that. Yeah, and then we have something like this. Damn. Yeah, my favorite one was that like icy one, or like snow. Like I'm not sure exactly what it was. Bricks. That is cool. See, again, this is amazing because this is literally just user interface, but with the properties of a part, right? Look, I click here, now it's metal. I click here, now it's ice. This looks so cool. Like, come on, bro. Like, if you saw this in a real game, you'd be like, damn, you know? And again, you could use these for these buttons as well, right? literally everything could be 3D if you just gave it enough time, right? Honestly, I just want to keep clicking and just see what we can find. Like, yeah, look at that. Like what even is this? Do you know? Because I don't. Yeah, but again, this is just something I found. I think it looks really nice. As a player, I would honestly love to see a game that has cool little like interactables like this, because this isn't difficult to make. And I feel like many games just kind of disregard their user interface, even though it's such a massive part of the experience. Like, as a player, whenever you play a game, please just notice how many times you actually use the user interface. Like please, I'm certain that it's such a common thing for you now. Like you use it so many times that you likely don't even remember what life was like before, you used user interface. Like, I'm certain that you used it so many times at this point that, again, it's like literally, your brain is like literally forgetting about all of the times that you were using it for. So it is very important, right? And again, I do hope that developers kind of realize this and start implementing it into their games. And yeah, look at that. It's like this neon cool little sign. That is so cool. Yeah, I really like what I've made here. But yeah, I mean, do leave a comment. Like, do let me know what you think about this. Let me know like what you would add to this, because like I said, there's definitely better ways for me to kind of interact with this. Like, specifically getting like the exact mouse coordinates and then like, making it rotate in like the opposite direction. Or maybe I could do something where like when the mouse is inside of it and it changes, we could have this shot button that like slightly look at the mouse, like kind of trail the mouse like a little bit. Like, you could do something like that. Like, there's definitely a lot of stuff that you could do, right? There's a lot of potential. So yeah, I do just hope that you can maybe hop on Studio if you're a developer and copy what I did here and play around with it and just make something that actually looks really clean and really nice. And if you're a player, I hope you also like what you're seeing here, because again, as a player myself, as someone who has played games and does play games and will play games, again, I want to see more of this. This is really cool. I don't know, I really like this. But yeah, I guess my little challenge here is join my Discord, right? Because that's the only way I can actually see what you're doing. And just make a user interface that has these 3D elements, just as many as you can, and give them these like cool little gimmicks where like you can, manipulate them with your mouse. Because, I mean, that's what user interface is. Like, you use it with your mouse. I know mobile players exist, but like, this is a little trick that'll let you in on that all developers know about. Nobody actually cares about mobile players. Like, every developer has them as like a little thought in the back of their mind, but every developer thinks about PC players because, well, number one, PC players are obviously cool and amazing, but number two, it's because developers are on PC when they're developing the game. But yeah, honestly, make your user interface, make it look nice, make it look cool, give it as much cool little details as possible. And again, if you already have a game, add something like this to it. Add something that's cool. Add something that actually makes players go, damn, this is like I can see that effort was put into this. And yeah, do subscribe if you like this, because I do want to make a lot more of similar content soon, and I'm very close to 100k, which I know is like your top priority, right? Like, I know you wake up every day thinking, damn, like I need to get ByteBlocks to 100,000 subs. Thank you very much. It's a work in progress. And if you're a developer and if you've been seeing what I've been doing here and you kind of got inspired and you're like, what, I actually would really love to know how this guy does this stuff and also just handle Studio in general. Like, I just want to learn Roblox Studio. I do have a course. I know, I get it. Everyone has a course, but mine is different. Mine is better. It's just amazing. It's like 7 hours long. It has like bonus units, and I'll add bonus units in the future. It's 30 USD, or like, sorry, 27 USD, which for 7 hours I think is pretty good. And this wasn't like a course that I just quickly made in like an hour or something. Like, this was, I believe, like a solid 2-3 months worth of work. Like, I would be like skipping classes to like ensure that it's actually a good course. And practically everyone who's bought it, they all DM me on Discord being like, yo bro, amazing course. And so, that's always really nice to hear. So yeah, I don't even sell that course that much because honestly I make more income from YouTube, but I do just think that like, there's many tutorials out there that just aren't that good. I make tutorials, but they're more for fun, they're more for engagement. But if you want a serious full guide to Roblox Studio with my teaching style and, assuming that you're a full-on beginner who literally doesn't even really know what they're doing, I think you'll find a lot of value from it. So that's in the link in the description or the pinned comment. But yeah, like I said, make a cool little GUI, build it up with a bunch of cool details, send it to the Discord server. And yeah, so I'm gonna delete that. And as always, we are back to basics. Thank you for watching.